This is a cinematic filmmaker's review of the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, and I have some opinions. But first, let me just say this. This is probably the most DSLR-like phone I've ever shot with.
Let's drive our home away. Find a mirage and stay where the zombies look like cactus, where the hurricanes ain't never gonna catch us.
I have had this phone for about 3 weeks now, and I've been putting it through its paces. We went on a camping trip to Kings Canyon with the family, also shot some surfing, and I would say I think I have this phone pretty dialed in. Like, I know what it excels in, which it has a lot it does excel in, but I also know its quirks and maybe some weaknesses. So like I said, the angle that I'm coming at this phone is from a filmmaker's perspective. So this is a filmmaker cinematic review kind of thing that hopefully you find interesting. I think that these phones are compelling because of just how good they can look, and this phone looks pretty dang good. So let's get into the pros and the cons. The first major pro I see from this phone is how good the colors look. The footage from Kings Canyon, the rich greens, how it handles flares. Like, I think what this camera does is give you more of a DSLR mirrorless look than opposed to other phone cameras. Phone compositions, people just know what it looks like now, and this phone kind of breaks the mold. The colors do that, how it handles the flares does that, as well as just the overall compositional qualities you get from the various focal lengths. Now that gets me to another pro, the focal lengths. The fact that you can shoot 85 to 125 all optical is wild. That gives you a ton of zoom and the most possible quality. And on this little bitty spot on the phone, there's a little zoom happening there to make that optical happen. Now, one of the caveats to those good colors looking like the footage is already graded coming straight out of camera is that you're gonna lose dynamic range. The iPhone has that kind of over-processed look to it, but what you get is exceptional dynamic range with all that software going on. Now, this phone might look more realistic to what our actual eye sees, but I noticed in the harshest conditions for lighting, this phone tended to struggle a little more, where I'm used to my iPhone being able to cover that distance between my shadows and my highlights. All right, Towns is falling asleep. Couldn't hang. The other qualm to this phone that I ran into was figuring out if I should shoot in Video Pro or Cinema Pro. I actually talked to Sony about this, and they mentioned that basically Video Pro is for like more documentary shooting, like typically like I do, like I did in Kings Canyon, like I did when I shot some of that surfing. And Cinema Pro is for more controlled environments, like when you're on set. Now, I would love it just to be one app. Having to decide between two is somewhat confusing. I love that there's a pro mode in the Video Pro app. Like, that's awesome. Being able to control my shutter speed, all that stuff natively rocks, while also being able to shoot auto if I want to. That's awesome. For filmmakers, that's great. But there's this whole other Cinema Pro app, which Cinema just tells my mind like, oh, I should shoot cinema mode because I want it to look cinematic. So I'm not a videographer, I'm a filmmaker, you know, so it's like cinema, I'm gonna lean that direction, even though that app to me doesn't work as well for my needs as Video Pro does. So in the future, would just love Sony to combine those apps, and if you have your hands on this phone, you'll kind of know what I mean as you start to tinker and shoot with it. Now, when I say this phone is the most DSLR-like I've used, it's because of the colors straight out of camera. I think they look gorgeous. They're warm, they're punchy, they have a cinematic feel to it. That is definitely subjective, that's my taste, but it fits my taste, which is great. The second thing are those variable focal lengths. You have your ultra wide, your wide, and your 85 to 125 lens. That's the most focal lengths any phone ever has offered. So that's great. We love that amount of flexibility. The other thing is because it's Sony, they throw in some of their cinema features like auto eye tracking, which I don't think those cinema features work as well on the phone as they do on a Sony cinema camera like this one, but it's still awesome that they're thinking that way. I like that Sony's giving us more manual control. They're giving us, the creator, an option of what to do versus like a phone like the Pixel, which makes everything as auto as possible so that you don't have to think. I like thinking. So I like the Xperia. No, I don't know if that makes sense at all. All in all, if I were to pick one phone just for filmmaking, no need for it to actually be a phone, just a camera, but it still had to be a phone, I'd probably choose this one. That said, are you gonna switch devices? Are you gonna go from iPhone to an Android just for the camera? Maybe, I don't know, but that's not, that's for you to decide. But hopefully either way you enjoyed this video. I love getting my hands on cameras and just testing them out, seeing what they do stylistically, cinematically, and more showing you guys what it looks like and talking through my own personal experience. First, just reading off a bunch of specs, because honestly, a lot of cameras are great now. They all have really good specs, and that's just kind of where we're at in 2022 with camera technology. If you have any questions, please leave them in a comment below. Please subscribe if you're keen, and thanks so much for watching. I have a couple ideas of what I want to do with this phone. Would love to actually shoot a short film and do a BTS about it. Hopefully we'll be pitching Sony on that in the future. This wasn't a paid video. Hopefully that one will be. So if you're interested in seeing that, drop a comment, because then I can screenshot it and like put it in the deck or something. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. We have mugs. We have mugs now for Sony 16. I don't know if you know what Sony 16 is, but if you don't, it's our little creative studio. And we drink a lot of coffee, so we made mugs. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Bye.